for coming out tonight, especially in the holiday season to participate, but it's important that we hear everybody's input in the process. Tonight we have an interactive exercise planned for you. We're going to have a brief 10 to 15 minute presentation to show you where we've been so far, where we're at in the process, and then we will launch into group discussions. We'll have a county facilitator at each table. We're going to ask you to group into tables of about 8 to 10 people. These long tables are set up for about the right number of people. And then we're going to ask you to develop some value statements and input for the board of supervisors to consider at a later date. Ray Keller from Interior Associates is going to go through everything for you. Again, I just want to thank you for being here. At the end of time, we're going to have a 15-minute question-answer period for anybody that has any questions about process that were not answered tonight, or questions of a community-specific nature, because tonight is about the general plan update for the entire county. It's about where we want the county to be in 20 to 30 years. So we're going to ask you to restrict any community-specific concerns or issues that don't relate to the county to the last 15-minute period where we can have a little bit of time. So, is there any questions before we get started? Then I introduce Rick Paladin from Interior Associates. Hi, please.
So it's, as Stephanie mentioned, the main purpose of the workshop is the workshop portion, but we are going to have a brief review of where we are in the process. You guys have to speed on that. I've been told to keep that brief, so I'll try to move through that and slow me down for any questions. We're really trying to save questions for the end after the workshop, but we have a focus question on these things, so I'm going too quickly on clarify. So the workshop purpose, and we'll get into specific directions on what we're doing with the workshop, but the purpose is to get inputs, you guys discuss issues, get input from you, that county staff and consultants will use to develop a draft working vision statement for the next phase of the general plan update. And we'll talk about what kind of statements we're looking at, what vision statements look like. So we're going to do a status report, general plan update, talk about where we are in that, we'll talk about the baseline report, and we'll talk about the first round of community workshops. The workshop tonight is the fifth in a series of 6, the second round of community workshops. And we'll discuss what's in the first round of workshops starting in June of this year. And we have an interactive exercise, takes about an hour, and then another 15 minutes to half an hour to report out the results. And then after that, we'll have a question and comment period. So here's where we are in the general plan update work program. We are starting at phase 3, and these workshops start are really the kickoff of phase 3, issues, opportunities, and vision. We've been through phase 1 program initiation as well as the baseline report, and you can see the next phases after issues, opportunities, and vision. Phase 4 is alternatives. Phase 5, goals and policies, and then we do the environmental work that's required under state law. There's a physical impact assessment. Public review is phase 8, and then finally the final document and adoption of phase 9. So we're still early in the process, but we're looking forward. And this is a summary of phase 1 major tasks: collecting initial documents, creating a general plan update website. So I'm just going to read this. Rather than struggling with that. And the first round of community workshops were conducted in May and June of this year. And a number of you might have attended. We had a series of 7 of those, and you might have attended those. Phase 2 is the baseline report. And the baseline report, some communities call it background report. The It is a document in the general plan, and it provides a summary of existing conditions, so baseline conditions in the county. It covers a number of topics. You can see the list of topics there. These are the chapter titles. 11 chapters in there, ranging from population and demographics, transportation and circulation, natural resources, noise, and numerous subtopics under there. Inside of it, a 400-page document. The preliminary draft was released on November 15th. It's available for download online on the county's website. And the website address is right here, or you can just go to the main county website and look for the general plan update link. And the public review draft is scheduled for release in a week or two, really, before we have official public review draft. We're just making a few small technical corrections to the preliminary draft based on report. So phase 3 is where we are right now. We had a kickoff meeting with the Board of Supervisors in October. And right now we're conducting the second round of community workshops. Again, this is tonight is the 5th of a series of 6 of these. And after we do the workshops, we are going to prepare the main report in this phase, which is a key issues and opportunities summary along with the draft vision statement. After we do that, we will conduct a joint Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors study session to take public input on the draft working vision statement. And the vision statement we'll be using it throughout and modifying it throughout the general plan update process. That will be the first time it's released for public review, but it will be a working document that it can get modified based on public input further down the line as we get into the alternative phase, into the goals and policies phase of the general plan update. And so the two major products we're looking at for this phase, we're going to have a summary of all these workshops, these 6 workshops, and we'll summarize all the results that we're getting, and then we'll be providing this document, key issues and opportunities summary, along with draft working statement. And you can see the workshop list here. We're tonight in Valley Springs, and we have District 2 meeting on Wednesday, and that will wrap up this round of workshops. And now we're going to look at just a quick summary of what we learned in the first round of workshops. And the first round of workshops, we were looking at key issues in the county. And tonight we were looking at guiding principles and overall vision for the county. So the first were identifying issues. And we had 7 workshops. You can see the dates of the workshops that those in May and June. The pictures of Valley Springs workshop in June. And we kept this workshop fairly simple and broad. And we were looking at both community issues and countywide issues. And we asked 2 questions regarding community issues and 2 questions regarding county issues. And the questions were very simple. Please identify your community's most important assets, and please identify your community's biggest problems. And then we did the same questions for the countywide perspective. Now there's a report available on the county website that goes into great detail about the results of the first round of workshops. You can download it on the General Plan Update website. And here I just have a brief summary of the results of that. We report out individually by all the tables for each of the workshops and what we report. Right here, we're just showing the top 3 countywide assets that were identified and the top 3 countywide problems that were identified based on really looking at the whole series of 7 workshops. And so there's a type of period here where we have 4 things listed. And the top assets were natural resources, rural quality of life and open space, tourism and recreation, and historical resources. And the top 3 countywide problems that were identified were planning and leadership, roads and traffic, and economic development. And then these are the results from the Valley Springs workshops, just the main overall results. And we do have those available, broken down further by table for the workshop. You can look at that in the document. But the main three things that came out of that for top 3 community assets in Valley Springs, lakes and recreation, open space, rural lifestyle. And the top 3 problems that were identified are roads and traffic, water and sewer, and affordable housing. And I want to give you right now an overview of the interactive exercise, and then we'll get into some of the details and talk about some of the information sheets that we have on the tables with you, and then we'll get into the exercise. So, our main purpose, and what we're trying to get you guys to do in the workshop, is to brainstorm countywide principles and/or value statements. They're really pretty much the same thing regarding key issues. Again, the first round of workshops, we identified issues and problems, and in this round, we'll be guiding principles to address those issues. And what we're going to have is a list of 9 topics. Issue topics, and we're going to have each group choose 5 of those to address. Choose 5 of the 9, and you are going to craft principle statements for each of the 5 issue topics. And we'll go in and we'll talk about what the principle statement should look like, so you have an idea of that. And facilitators will help you. And then again, what we're going to do, county staff and consultants are going to take input from all these workshops and use those principle statements that we're developing here in the other workshops to develop a draft working vision statement that then moves us forward into the next round, which is the alternatives round, which is work on update. And I have these questions up here for you to consider, and I'll leave these on the screen when we're doing the exercise. And you may wish to discuss these in detail at your table. You may just want to think about them yourself in terms of trying to focus on countywide issues in terms of long-term planning perspective. And so one question to ask is what your vision for Calaveras County is, and what your vision for Calaveras County should be in 10, 20, 30 years regarding each of the issue topics that you identify as the ones that you want to discuss. And another way to look at that is to say, what would you like to see improved regarding each of these topic areas? And then another question is, what aligning principles might you support in each topic area? We'll go into the list of the aligning principles in a second. So one of your sheets that you have, we passed out 2 sheets for everybody. And one of them just says aligning principles on the top. And these are called the aligning principles for resource efficient communities, is the official title. And we're presenting them to you tonight really 2 reasons. First is at the October board meeting, several of the board members mentioned that they wanted the county and the general fund update process to investigate the aligning principles for their applicability to Calaveras County, and we're interested in looking at those a little more carefully. It's not that the county has adopted those, but there is some interest on the board in looking at these principles. Another reason why we presented them to you tonight is just to get you thinking about what principle statements look like. Now, you might agree with some of the aligning principle statements, you might disagree with some, but the way they're written is the way that we're trying to get guiding principles written, not in the exercise, addressing the topic areas. The aligning principles were developed and presented in 1991 by the Local Government Commission, and you guys are sure familiar with the Local Government Commission. We've done a few workshops here in Valley Springs recently. And they were actually presented at a conference at the Aligning Hotel in Yosemite National Park back in 1991. So they handed principles up to the hotel. And you'll see on the sheet you have, there's a preamble which is really identifying the problem that the planners and the architects were identifying in terms of what their guiding principles were addressing, including increased dependence on automobiles and increasing traffic congestion and air quality problems because of that. Also, loss of open space and other issues that were identified there. You can read those in more detail on your table. That's the preamble. And then you'll see there's a series of 15 community principles, a series of 4 regional principles, and 4 implementation principles at different scales. So, total of those principles. So, again, you can look those over, decide which ones you might support, which ones seem interesting to you, and it might be a good food for thought for your discussion, or you might just want to set them aside. It really depends on each group. And we also provided some other examples. On each table, we provided 2 sheets that show examples of guiding principle statements from the City of Sacramento General Plan update. Our firm is involved in that, and we're presenting these not because we think Calaveras should be like the City of Sacramento, that we think your principles should be like Sacramento, and for that matter, the Alani principles are really written more for urban communities rather than rural communities. So a lot of the principles don't really necessarily apply, but we do think it'll be useful for getting people thinking in terms of these broader planning issues. And so I'm going to show the vision statement for the City of Sacramento, what we've developed for that looks like, just so you can see what the vision statement looks like. Again, Calaveras' vision statement is going to be developed based on your input. We're not using other communities as a basis for that, but this just shows you what the language in the vision statement looks like. And then on your table, you'll see the City of Sacramento, the 2-sided sheet showing the guiding principles for that. And there are a number of topic areas that you'll see there: housing, environmental resources, land use, community design. So the vision statement for the City of Sacramento, there's an overall vision statement, and it's a fairly ambitious one. The guiding vision of the general plan is that Sacramento will be the most livable city in America. So this is what the community has decided, the vision of Sacramento, what they want Sacramento to be like. And then there are various topic areas and vision statements that are related to each of those. There's a vision statement connected to the regional and local role of Sacramento, to the economy, to livable neighborhoods. And just to read this one, for example, you can read the other ones on the screen, but the livable neighborhoods vision statement says every neighborhood will be a desirable place to live because of its walkable streets, extensive tree canopy, range of housing choices, mixed-use neighborhoods, great schools, parks and recreation facilities, and easy access to downtown and jobs. So he's taken a topic area and said what their vision for the future is going to be. Now again, the consultants and county staff are going to be developing vision statements for Calaveras based on the guiding principles that will be developed in these workshops here. So we're not asking you guys to wordsmith and draft this vision statement yourself. So there'll be opportunities to modify what we've done, to comment on what we've developed, and it's a working vision statement that goes all the way through. But we're using the principles statements that are developed tonight in order to inform our drafting of this vision statement. And you can see there are other topics here: sample vision statement addressing transportation and circulation, culture, diversity and equity, health and safety, global warming and conservation. So those are the main topic areas that the City of Sacramento thought were most important to address in their vision statement. You might have a completely different set of issues that we're addressing here in Calaveras County. Just provide an example of what vision statements look like in the general plan. So now let's get the focus back to Calaveras County and talk about the key issues that we've identified in the third of the sheets that are on your table. And these issues were developed in the first round of community workshops, and also in our work on the baseline report, as well as input that we're receiving from the board in our workshop that we've had throughout the update process so far. So you'll see on your page there, Calaveras County key issues on the top. And there are a series of 9 main issue topics: land use, community design, housing, transportation and circulation, economic development, environmental resources, safety and hazards, public facilities and services, and parks and recreation. And there are numerous subtopics under those, which are the main things that were coming out of the workshops and coming out of input from the board in the baseline report. There may be other issues that you think are important that aren't on there, and you're certainly free to discuss those tonight too. We're not trying to limit the discussion, but those are some of the major things that we found to give you guys a start in the discussion. And again, what we're going to have you do is choose 5 out of 9 of these topic areas to discuss today. So let's discuss what we're going to do with the interactive exercise. I'll walk you through that quickly, and then we'll leave you in the hands of your facilitators and let you guys support. So again, the main activity that you're going to be doing is to brainstorm countywide. Again, try to keep the focus countywide rather than just on Valley Springs community or your community that you happen to live in. And principal statements, value statements regarding key issues. So we're going to have the tables divided up. We'll have everybody introduce themselves. There will be a facilitator at each table. And the facilitator can serve as the recorder. You may choose to appoint somebody else to record what the group is doing. We'll have easels at each table to record that. And we'd like you first just to vote as a group on 5 of the 9 issue topics that you'd like to discuss. You're welcome to discuss more if you get to it. We want every group to at least discuss and draft at least one principal statement for each of the 5 topic areas. If you want to address more, if you have time to do that, you're certainly welcome to do that. And given the time that we have, we're going to allow about an hour for the exercise. After you do introductions and figure out what the main issues we discuss, you'll probably spend about 10 minutes doing that. And so you'll have about 10 minutes really for each of the 5 topics on each sheet. So please budget your time accordingly. And after the hour's up, and each group is going to appoint a spokesperson, and that person will really summarize the findings of the group. And what we'd like to hear, you can summarize some of your discussion and some of your thinking. We'd like to hear really just the guiding principles that you developed in your discussion. In your discussions, you're going to probably discuss some of the issues. What are the issues that are most important to you? And that's important to do, but then I think you also need to be thinking about, well, we have these issues, how are we going to address those? What principles are we going to put in place for the county to address those issues that we think are most important? And all results from the meeting, we record all those, we'll take the sheets, we'll provide a workshop summary of all the workshops at this stage. So we'll leave the questions to consider up on the screen here. And we'll divide up into our tables and let you guys do the work of these.
We have enough people for 4 tables. You can sit 4 across from 4, the recorder and the facilitator is at the end. That way you can actually sit face to face and talk.
By the clear definition of open space, or incentivize or promote development and community boundaries, or I'm just throwing it out there based on what I've heard you guys talk about.
What everybody thinks is they want to keep the county moving. There's a lot of farmers or whatever who own land or whatever who love our lifestyle. I think is our vision is to keep Calaveras small. But well, our natural way, our open spaces, not that protect the land. We want to protect everybody's property.
Well, that's something I'll tell you. I'm really interested in. I'm going to be interested when they come up with new zoning maps and zoning, R5, R1, something like that. I'm very interested to see when the checks come in. Because if they change my property, because I own property too. They change mine from C2 to something. I guarantee I'll be the question to check what the difference makes.
They're
certainly talking about doing it now. If they change
only by those industrial development rights. They may buy out or they
You're going to take 80 acres and you've got 40 acres that you want to put up as a subdivision, and the other 40 acres that you can find as water service. And you will not split your parcel up. By doing so, it basically works as a transfer, and you would end up set aside whether it balances out or something.
I have a tower with a door so I can just read it. That's just provide mine. Like he said, you got 20 acres, turn out a vineyard or something.
reduced our number, we divided our number of potential partners by 8.
So you're saying I have to have 5-foot neighbors?
Perhaps. But if you want water, somebody has to have 5.
No, come up with a statement that will maintain this.
Well, what I'm saying is as long as this gentleman's as long as he can prove the water source, you shouldn't say that it won't occur, because what that's going to do is there's economic consequences to take water.
The question is,
So think about the development will allow in.
New development outside would be allowed if they can show
Or we can decide on is there's no real definition yet of what open space is. And again, it applies various parts of the county. You're going to have their own definition of what open space is. Obviously, more urban areas have a definition in the extreme mountainous rural area to the east. So new development is based on, that's the first one. The second one here is new development is based on available water, sewer, and existing communities. I think we're all pretty aware of that you can't build unless you have adequate water and sewer, whatever it may be, either from the ground up or from piped in or out. The third one is, don't prohibit the American dream. And you kind of pick the ballpark of 500. So we don't have any limitation on, okay, you can not do this with this amount of land, but you can do this with this amount of land. Within certain reasonable boundaries. Okay, housing is kind of quick. Provide diversity in all types and all costs. To kind of make everybody happy when it works. That was about all we had for that. Transportation. We decided that as a group over here that we don't have enough money for our roads. And one of the ways we did it is to provide an example of, like, say, a sales tax that goes right into our road improvement. So we can get better roads countywide. Another big issue we all decided on is plan ahead for future roads, bypass, etc. before it's too late. Because if you wait, then all of a sudden all the land's taken up, there's houses, there's retailers, whatever in the way, and it's too late now. Plan ahead. Economic development, provide economic vision for all county residents. And again, that's kind of a broad statement, but again, it means supply the right amount of economic development so a given area of the county is kind of self-sustaining happens, is that what we're trying to say, more or less.
retail opportunities, jobs for all parts of our
Right. And then along that same line is locate these areas that we're just talking about that accommodate economic development with, let's say, with respect to adequate infrastructure. Basically, he just saying. So try to have these areas that work. And environmental, let's see. We talked about the water rights. Maintain water rights by promoting more diverse uses. We talked about that we actually have plenty of water in this county. We just got to make sure we use it. So, and what we're talking about is surface water from like New Hogan. It supplies the entire West County. Or it doesn't supply, but it can supply basically all that needs the entire West County. And again, promote balance between the use and maintenance of local and natural resources. We're talking about a balance on a development, with the trees, the creeks, the natural resources, basically. Provide a balance in using all that with development. And that's what that is.
Okay. Great, thank you.
I'm Mark Jones. We've read where you see this stuff. Urban development should be discouraged, and development should occur contiguous to the existing development. Minimize less than 4 per year general plan amendment. See also aligned implementation number 4 in the public process. Still on land use. Incorporate open space into the subdivision design, and then that kind of ties right into buffer the recreation areas from development. We're thinking about all the places like the lakes and state parks. Make sure stuff that doesn't get too close to it. Domestic transportation. Protect protect the communities from through traffic by creating routes that serve to navigate the community. That can be some kind of bypasses, or we've seen in some of our meetings here where it's like you have a road that goes around the community and then people come into the community from around it. So it's just kind of a big circle effect. That's why you don't have the large trucks and everything going right through the middle of town. Add people like roundabouts and turn lanes to increase the traffic flow. And bypass and pedestrian, encourage bypass and pedestrian paths or dual paths where they're like side by side. You know, so that you can actually get somewhere without having to jump in your car if it's close enough. Increase public transportation options. You know, in this county we kind of got buses that we really don't have parking right. I mean, if there was an area where you either take a bus to Lodi and go to work, where do you leave your car? I mean, if you just start piling them all down to the shopping center, I'm talking about Valley Springs, it could be shopping center anywhere, then you're people shopping better training, encourage transportation candidates, limit encroachment traffic conflicts by encouraging shared accesses. And that's kind of like if you got 4 or 5 houses in one area, they have 1 encroachment instead of 5. So you have less people, you know, kind of funneling effect. New development should connect to public facilities, I'm sorry. New development shall connect to public sewer systems. But there's kind of a threshold too. We kind of want to encourage, you know, some of the areas to come together, but we're not sure of the threshold. We couldn't agree on that. Gray water infrastructure. Since you're already digging the trenches, you got all the other pipes going in there, just put the pipes in the ground, and when we get around to it, we'll connect to them later. And encourage joint use of flood control, drainage, properties for recreational areas. That's kind of like those little parks that you see in Lodi where they might flood in the wintertime, but it's a ball field in the summer. So public facility fees are established, no development. Consider consolidation of public agencies performing the same functions. So we're talking kind of like where you get a lot of little water districts right next to each other, or a lot of little fire districts right next to each other. We think there would be like, it'd be better if they were a little bit larger and everybody was on the same page. Housing. Ensure diversity of housing types that are affordable to all income levels in the county. And once again, we went back to aligning principles before. Allow nonprofit agencies to develop a variety of housing design, which means just get some outside help if necessary. Community design, no masquerade. Preserve the host teams, establish a design review for development proposals, but keep it efficient, don't let it get out of hand. And that's the aligning principle 10, 12, 13. And it kind of requires design to match with the natural terrain. We kind of like the aspects that the roads around here kind of follow and go up and down. We don't want like a ABC 1, 2, 3 street system where everything gets too square. And economic development, establish jobs in the housing balance of about 6.5 jobs for 10 people. And we're really thinking about creating some job opportunities for all segments of the community. Like let's say somebody doesn't want to go away to college, a young person, they want to stay here and work, and it's just more opportunities for all segments of the population, like more technical jobs, and not just forcing people to drive out of town.
But we all need to know when we say open space, what are we talking about? And then plan for projected growth through zoning. Promote/require a dark sky ordinance.
Noise number 3.
I put that one, yeah, no, but she didn't put that one on. So there's a lot of people that say that. Promote transfer of development rights. I personally don't understand that, but they do. So I'm hoping.
Well, actually, your table should explain what you mean by that.
Somebody tell us what that means. What did you say?
It's really the same as creating the habitat conservation program.
It's a mechanism for creating habitat conservation.
Okay, so you talked about the development rights
But
off
you
of one
move
parcel onto
and onto another part.
Okay, got it.
Excuse me.
Trent?
It's just a process that citizens of this county can purchase the development rights off of a piece of property. And then that property can never be developed again.
Great, I just want to make sure we're doing what you meant. So, that's good.
Okay. Transportation circulation. Promote pedestrian facilities and bikeways within and connecting communities. We want to see people be able to go from one community to the next to do their shopping or go to doctor appointments without having to get on the highway necessarily. And perhaps our kids could actually walk to school and get a little exercise. And now we know they can't because they can't walk on the highway. There's just all kinds of populations that would use this. Increase public transportation. Promote left turn lanes and other applicable safety measures. I got a lot. Such as those roundabouts and the coloring the bike lanes to create the illusion of different width of streets to slow traffic down to calm the traffic. Plan long-term solutions to reduce traffic congestion, such as bypass, connector routes, bikeways, pedestrian facilities, public transportation, and the list goes on. Create walking communities. Encourage limited cul-de-sacs. I think the idea of encouraging limited cul-de-sacs was to make sure that our roads connect to each other. Economic development. Encourage a balance between the jobs and the housing. Encourage and entice industry to diversify sustainable economy. It was very emphatically expressed more than once through our discussion that people working at most of the jobs that we have around here could never afford to buy one of the houses that are here. So when we build housing, we have to accommodate for everyone. It was also expressed that who is going to build these apartments? Apparently it's difficult, if not impossible, I don't know, for developers, it doesn't, the word was pencil out, to build apartments for developers. So we have to figure out a way for that to happen. And I don't know what that is, but today's our day to visualize or to make a dream, and the next session is to figure out how to do it. So, preserve, because you can't sustain a community based on tourism alone. Preserve the historic nature of our community. Dark skies again. Discourage box stores. Support mom and pop stores. Preserve and promote agriculture, sustainable and profitable agriculture. Plan for children and families. Promote educational alternatives. College would be nice. You know, adult education would be nice. Although I think they have that at the high school, it's just that it's hard to get there because we don't have those little routes for our seniors to get there. Environmental resources. Promote Oakwood endorsed ordinance/forest management. This would go towards fire safety also, I would think. Promote habitat conservation programs, which I guess include resources. We are wealthy beyond our means, beyond dreams, historic resources. You know, I was raised in Ohio. Our textbooks, we talked about the dirt that's underneath this building today. You know, that, I mean, and we just don't know how wealthy we are. So we must preserve our historic resources. We must protect our water rights, or it's all for naught. Promote use of surface water instead of groundwater. That's okay. Promote use of groundwater for agricultural purposes. Protect our watershed. Promote the use of tertiary water for irrigation and fire suppression and groundwater injection. Health and safety and hazards. Promote, build green. Build green belt. Use updated, we can't update them, but we can push to have them updated. Promote, use updated FEMA maps to determine where not to build, or maybe turn that around, where to build. Provide for adequate and sustainable healthcare systems, including a maternity ward. 30 years from now, they'll look back at this and go, well, they didn't have a maternity ward. But we really don't have enough numbers right now, so it's not that Mark Twain doesn't want a maternity ward. Apparently, it just isn't working right now. So we're just going to be starting stuff. We have on the field. Provide for adequate and sustainable fire prevention, protection, and suppression. Create flood control district and provide for adequate senior/vulnerable